Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Paris, and in the main event, we have a heavyweight fight, Ciryl Gane versus Tai Tuivasa, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction of this fight. And this is a fight that's very important within the heavyweight division. You look at the division right now, you have a little bit of a logjam at the top with Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, the whole John Jones situation. And then right outside that trio, you have the winner of this fight, and then you have Curtis Blaydes. So it would not shock me if the winner of Ciryl Gane versus Tai Tuivasa isn't fighting for a UFC heavyweight title in the next year or so, depending on how the whole Francis Ngannou situation plays out. This is a very important fight. Both guys are ranked in the top 5, and it's kind of an interesting stylistic matchup because you have Ciryl Gane, who's kind of like this new breed of heavyweight, super light on his feet, super technical, not one of these huge power punchers. And then you have Tai Tuivasa, who's just not particularly skilled, but he has decent striking, and he finds a way to KO guys, and he has nuclear power in his hands, and it just seems like everybody he touches, he puts to sleep, and he has an iron chin that he showed off multiple times. So I'm really looking forward to this heavyweight fight. If you look at the tail of the tape, Ciryl Gane is 10-1, Tai Tuivasa is 15-3. Gane is ranked number 1, Tuivasa is ranked number 3. Gane is 32 years old. Tuivasa is 29 years old. Gane is 6'4". Tai is 6'2". Gane has an 83-inch reach, and Tuivasa has a 75-inch reach. So a 2-inch height advantage and an 8-inch reach advantage for Ciryl Gane. So a massive reach advantage for Ciryl Gane. So if you look at Tai Tuivasa, of his 15 wins, 14 of those wins are by TKO or KO. He's on a 5-fight win streak. His last fight was against Derek Lewis, February of this year, UFC 271. And honestly, you look back on this fight and you remember the standing KO, the standing elbow in the clinch by Tai Tuivasa. But I feel like a lot of people forget how this fight actually played out. And Derek Lewis won the majority of this fight. He was lighting Tai Tuivasa up in the first round. He got him down multiple times. One time on the way up, Derek Lewis threw some heavy shots up against the fence. And I really thought he was going to finish Tai Tuivasa in the first round. He was able to scramble back to his feet. He lost the first round. The second round, he got rocked again. And then he just started swinging wildly. I guess he realized, I'm going to get clipped anyway. I might as well throw some shots back. He hurts Derek Lewis, and then eventually they ended up in a clinch situation, and he throws a brutal standing elbow that flatlines Derek Lewis. He falls face down. The fight before that, he KO'd Augusto Sakai. This was back in December of last year. Swarmed Augusto Sakai on the feet and brutally TKO'd him in that fight. The fight before that, he fought Greg Hardy at UFC 264, July of last year. And Greg Hardy actually rocked Tai Tuivasa badly in this fight. And Greg Hardy got over-aggressive looking for the finish, and Tai Tuivasa lands a counter and puts Greg Hardy to sleep. Tuivasa was still hurt when he finished Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy just got carried away, rushing forward, looking for the finish, smelt the blood in the water, and Tai Tuivasa made him pay for it. Outside of that, I'm not going to go too far back on his wins, but his 3 losses in MMA, one of them is Sergey Spivak back at UFC 243. That's the last time he lost in 2019. And in this fight, he got out-grappled. Sergey Spivak was just able to take him down. Eventually, he got the full mount, and he was landing brutal ground and pound. Tai Tuivasa could not find his way out of the position. And eventually, the heavy ground and pound shots set up the arm triangle by Sergey Spivak and tapped Tai Tuivasa out in the second round. He lost to Bagoy Ivanov back by decision back at UFC 238. The fight before that, he lost to Junior Dos Santos. At one point, there was speculation that Tai Tuivasa was going to get cut from the UFC because he lost 3 fights in a row. The Junior Dos Santos loss was back in December of 2018. And in this fight, Tai Tuivasa was landing good shots, arguably winning the fight. He rushes forward, gets clipped with a massive right hand, dropped, and he had nothing to offer Junior Dos Santos on the ground. Eventually, Junior Dos Santos gets the full mount and ground and pound finishes Tai Tuivasa in the second round. And you see there's a common theme there. In Tai Tuivasa's losses, he gets out grappled. And that's, you look back on the Derek Lewis fight even, he's getting taken down by Derek Lewis. Moving over to Ciryl Gane, of his 10 wins, he has 4 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 3 by decision. So he just wins whichever way is available to him. He comes in this fight on a 1-fight losing streak. He lost to Francis Ngannou back at UFC 270, January of this year. And this was a very competitive fight. Most people thought Ciryl Gane won the first 2 rounds, just landing the better shots. Francis Ngannou doing a lot of swinging and missing. But in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, Francis Ngannou started grappling Ciryl Gane, which I believe Ciryl Gane did not see that coming at all. And particularly in the 3rd and 4th round, Francis Ngannou was able to do some damage on the ground. Now, in the 5th round, it was a little bit of a weird round because not much happened. Ciryl Gane got a takedown, but then he looked for a heel hook, and then Francis Ngannou ended up on top of him for the majority of the round. And he landed some decent ground and pound, but it was nothing, substantial by any means. So some people were saying, Ciryl Gane should have got the 5th round and he should be the UFC undisputed champion. But at the end of the day, I get it. Francis Ngannou, you can say all he did was lay on him, but all Ciryl Gane did in the 5th round was lay on his back. So I don't see how you can give him the win there. And Francis Ngannou did land some little bit of ground and pound shots in that 5th round. But either way, it just shows how good Ciryl Gane is because he was winning the fight on the feet with Francis Ngannou. And then, the massive game plan change from Francis Ngannou to mix in the wrestling. I guess he didn't see it coming. And I think it's a massive victory for Ciryl Gane just to not get KO'd by Francis Ngannou, because Francis Ngannou just has ungodly power. If he touches you, he puts you to sleep. And the fact that Ciryl Gane made it all the way to a decision, I think is a win in itself. Before that, he was undefeated in pro MMA. He TKO'd Derek Lewis back at UFC 265 in August of last year. This was for the interim heavyweight title. It really shouldn't have been for an interim heavyweight title, but for whatever reason, the UFC was just determined to put a title on the line in Houston, and they made that fight for the title, and Ciryl Gane went out there and did exactly what most people expected to Derek Lewis. He picked him apart at range. He used his footwork. Derek Lewis just wasn't able to find any shots, and eventually Ciryl Gane finished him in the 3rd round. Before that, he had a decision win over Alexander Volkov. This was a solid win for Ciryl Gane, just picking him apart, landing good shots. Volkov had some moments, but Ciryl Gane was just landing more shots, landing the better shots, and he eventually wins via decision. Before that, he decisioned Jairzinho Rozenstruik. In this fight, I believe he mixed in his grappling as well. But again, a typical Ciryl Gane performance, picking you apart, using his footwork. He's super light on his feet. He's moving well, and it's just hard to track Ciryl Gane down. Before that, he had a TKO win over Junior Dos Santos. This was where he landed like a standing elbow to the temple of Junior Dos Santos and then finished him off on the ground. This was when people really started to take Ciryl Gane serious. As soon as I seen him enter the UFC, I thought he was pretty good, but we had to see him test it. And seeing him go out there and TKO a guy like Junior Dos Santos was a massive step in Ciryl Gane's career. And I know Junior Dos Santos was far from his prime at this point, but it was still a solid win. And over the course of Ciryl Gane's UFC career, he's been pretty active. He had 3 fights in the UFC in 2019. He only had 1 fight in 2020, but then he had 3 fights in 2021. And now this is going to be his 2nd fight in 2022. So Ciryl Gane's been pretty active. And I know he only has 11 pro MMA fights, but he also has 13 pro Muay Thai fights. And he's been fighting some sort of combat sports since 2014. So it's not like he's super inexperienced. So when I look at this matchup and I look at avenues to victory, I really believe that Ciryl Gane can win. He can win by decision. He can win by KO. He could win by submission even. I think Ciryl Gane is so well-rounded. I think he can win in any manner that he wants, honestly. And I look at Tai Tuivasa and I think avenues to victory for Tai Tuivasa, he has to KO Ciryl Gane or TKO him. That's really his only way to win. And also, Tai Tuivasa has never gone 5 rounds. Most of the time, he ends up going only 1 or 2 rounds. And you have Ciryl Gane, who went 5 rounds against Francis Ngannou, 3 rounds against Derek Lewis, 5 rounds against Alexander Volkov, 5 rounds versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He has plenty of 5-round experience. So I wonder how Tai Tuivasa's cardio is going to hold up. especially when he's trying to explode forward with massive combinations, looking for a kill shot and looking to put Ciryl Gane out. And that's how I think this fight is going to play out. I think it's going to be a typical Ciryl Gane performance, trying to pick you apart from the outside. Meanwhile, you're going to have Tai Tuivasa just rushing forward, looking for the KO. Now, how do I think this fight is actually going to play out? My official prediction for this fight is going to be Ciryl Gane via third round TKO, maybe even fourth round TKO. I just think Ciryl Gane's better everywhere. Tai Tuivasa has gotten by far too long on just his power alone. He has nuclear power on his hands. He's not a particular technical striker. He's not particularly good on the ground. He doesn't have particularly good takedown defense. He doesn't really, he hasn't really shown any jiu-jitsu. So, he's really just a KO puncher, and sometimes that works out in the heavyweight division. Look at Derek Lewis. Look how far Derek Lewis has gotten with primarily just using his KO power. Francis Ngannou, I feel like, has become a little bit more well-rounded, but the majority of his career, he got by on KO power. I just don't think that's going to work out for him against a guy the level of Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane is going to pick him apart from the outside. He has great teep kicks, great body kicks, a great jab. He switches stances constantly. And I think Tai Tuivasa isn't going to be able to find Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane's going to be circling out as Tai Tuivasa tries to pressure him. And I just really find it hard to believe that if Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, and all these other guys, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, can't find a clean shot on Ciryl Gane's chin, I find it hard to believe that Tai Tuivasa is going to be the guy to do it. And that's really his only way to win. So I think what this fight's going to look like, it's going to be a fight that's going to have short bursts from Tai Tuivasa looking for that KO. But Ciryl Gane's just going to circle out the way and continue doing what he's doing, pumping the jab, teeping to the body. I really believe that also Ciryl Gane may mix in the grappling here. And I could see, in the early rounds, Ciryl Gane, he has a very high fight IQ. He comes in with a good game plan every fight. And he has to see the weakness in Tai Tuivasa's ground game. So I could see as Tai Tuivasa is blitzing forward, it could be halfway through the first round. It could be in the second round. I could see Ciryl Gane ducking under and taking Tai Tuivasa down. I know that Ciryl Gane got out-grappled by Francis Ngannou in their last fight, but Francis Ngannou is massive, and he's clearly been working on his wrestling for a long time, but we just never got to see it because he was KOing guys and, for the first 10 seconds of every round. So it's like he was having these quick fights, and his wrestling could have been good for a while, but he just never needed to use it because he was KOing guys dead. We've seen what Tai Tuivasa's grappling has looked like and his wrestling has looked like. He got taken down multiple times by Derek Lewis, who's not even taking guys down. So I think if Ciryl Gane wants to, he will be able to take Tai Tuivasa down. I think if Ciryl Gane wants to, he will pick him apart from the outside. But I think it'll be a balanced game plan from Ciryl Gane. I think he'll pick him apart. I think he'll mix in the takedowns. I think Tai Tuivasa, if he really wants to win this fight, he has to be kind of conservative. It's 5 rounds. I don't know how his cardio is going to be. I think he's going to have to try to chop the legs of Ciryl Gane, but I just don't think it's going to work. Ciryl Gane's super crafty, always switching stances, always pumping the jab, always teeping to the body. And I just don't see Tai Tuivasa being able to find that kill shot. I think he's going to have to try to clinch up with Ciryl Gane because Tai Tuivasa, that's another one of his strengths. He has very good clinch work and dirty boxing. But I don't think Ciryl Gane's going to let him catch up to him. Ciryl Gane's far more athletic. He's a massive heavyweight as well. And he's just so light on his feet. He's one of these new breeds of heavyweight where he's not just a massive power puncher. He's a very well-rounded fighter. And I just don't think, of all the ways Tai Tuivasa can win, he's going to have to mix in heavy leg kicks to limit the mobility of Ciryl Gane. He's going to have to clinch him against the fence and land big shots against the fence. And he's going to have to find a big shot, and I just don't see him doing that. Ciryl Gane's going to pick him apart from the outside, mix in the grappling as well. And I think as the fight goes on, Tai Tuivasa is going to get disheartened when he just can't do anything to Ciryl Gane. And I think he's going to slow down. And I think eventually Ciryl Gane is going to find some combinations and finish Tai Tuivasa. You know what I'll say? In the third round, I'll say they'll be on the ground. Ciryl Gane will have taken him down as he overcommitted on some big power shots. Ciryl Gane will take him down in the third round. And at this point, Tai Tuivasa will already be tired from exploding on combinations, looking for a kill shot earlier in the fight. And I'll say a late TKO ground and pound in the third round from Ciryl Gane. And I think this is a fight where it's a massive mismatch because Tai Tuivasa, while he has that KO power, there's not much else to his skill set. He's a very limited fighter in his skill set, and Ciryl Gane's just so well-rounded. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who do you think is going to win the main event at UFC Paris? Are you taking Gane or Tuivasa? Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.